We definitely look at it. We use it first as a way to kind of cut down the number of applications that we look at. So we have a cutoff. So if you have a low GPA, then we automatically don't review your application. Other than that, those with a qualifying GPA, we mostly look at their pharmacotherapy GPAs. And then we kind of classify them and give them points based on that. I can't think of the exact percentage that we weight it. Wouldn't say it's the most weighted, but we definitely take it into consideration.
So actually on our pre-interview score panel, it's less than 10% of our pre-interview evaluation. So it's kind of close to 10%. But just to give you the actual figure of how much it's worth. Now, typically anything around 3.5 or better is good for us. Especially if you work during school or you had a lot of extracurricular activities or leadership. If you have a low GPA, then we're going to try to determine what your baseline knowledge is and see if, there'd be a huge learning curve for when you came to the residency.
So we have a scoring rubric for our candidates, the applications that we receive for our candidates. And so it is on our scoring rubric. I would tell you it's probably overall proportionally a small amount of our overall score on the scoring rubric, but it is considered. But I wouldn't say that if someone had a 4.0, they'd be automatically an in, or if they had a lower GPA, that they'd be automatically an out. We do have a lower limit, but it's fairly low. But we've had great residents who have had high GPAs, and we've had great residents who have had middle of the line GPAs. So it is a factor, but not a major factor.
A student's GPA is helpful, and we do take it into account. The number one thing that we do is use it to rule out. We have a baseline to help narrow down our candidate selection. We also take it into account as we use our rubric. It is a weighted portion of the rubric, and so the higher the GPA, the more preference it takes, though it isn't something that would negate a candidate from being considered unless it was below a 3.0.
Things that I'm looking at, I don't look at their courses nearly as much as I look at their APPE experiences. I think that the more clinical experiences are the things that stand out to me. So I want to look at what types of experiences have you had in the hospital that is clinical, touching patients, taking care of patients, that is similar to what we would be doing in our hospital.
So I always look at the more clinical APPEs, look at the presentations of the projects that they worked on during those APPEs. If you had a research rotation, if you had anything like that, those kind of stand out. Anything unusual? Did you do a specialty track? Did you have AmCare, PEDS, leadership, something like that? Those are the things that really I kind of look for first on the CV.
I don't know that we really look for a specific setup on APPE experiences, for example, unless you're saying I'm interested in pediatrics and you've never had a pediatric rotation. I guess that would bring my attention there, just because I would wonder how you knew you were interested in pediatrics. But we know that your APPE schedule, although you get some preference in it, you may not get the final say in it. So I don't know that we can necessarily hold the student accountable for the APPE schedule when they may have just got the bad luck of the draw. So I'm not really looking for anything specifically. I mean, obviously, if you've had more clinical rotations in those clinical settings versus more non-clinical, maybe I'd be looking towards those. Or if you said you had a specific interest area, I would be looking for those.
What we've learned, because we get applicants from across the country, is that the courses vary so much that it's very hard to compare them one to another. What's more important is that the courses that are pharmacy related, they do well in. So it's less likely that something that happened in their pre-pharmacy days would have an impact, or their electives that were not pharmacy related during their pharmacy career to have an impact. Because we're in the community-based residency program, the APPEs that are done in federally qualified healthcare centers definitely raise candidates a little bit in our perspective, because we are a federally qualified healthcare center, and it allows candidates to have a better understanding of what the type of program that they're sort of applying to. Really, it's most important that they do well in those courses. It's rare that one would cause a candidate to be less likely to be considered, but again, ones more in the community-based are going to take a little bit more preference.